I'm the youngest of four out of my mom, kids. But in the house together, it was seven of us. On holidays or spring breaks, it was a house full, something like the Brady Bunch. And so it was always something entertaining, somebody doing something, somebody getting in trouble for something. A lot of activities, outdoor activities, stayed outside. It was, just being a kid, growing up being a kid, it was nice. That was how life was. I just kind of wish that I took more pictures doing all of that because I don't have too many pictures of me actually standing. I was always big in sports, so if it was playing football or playing basketball, tennis, um, anything outdoors, I never liked too much of being indoors. I never was an indoor type of person. I always was moving around, never could sit still. Never in a million years that I would think that this would be my life, that I'd be sitting here, in a wheelchair. I, I never imagined my life being like this. The wreck was April 29th, 2007. So not even much a full year after I graduated high school, I was involved in a head-on collision with a drunk driver. I remember the day like it was yesterday. I was getting ready. I just got off of work. I had to go pick up my tux because it was the girl I was talking to at the time was her prom. I got off of work, went and picked up my tux and, got my hair cut, got my car washed. And I remember getting dressed, and my sister and my mom taking pictures and stuff like that. Taking more pictures at her house with her family and going to prom. And actually, I had more fun at her prom than I had at my own. And the last thing I remember was when we was leaving prom, I dropped off at home. And when I dropped off at home, I got in the car and I was leaving. I turned off a street. I passed up a store, went on the underpass. And that's the last thing I remember until I woke up in ICU about 3 weeks later. It was basically a nightmare. I didn't know. I knew I was in the hospital, but I didn't know why or what was going on. I'm saying it was a nightmare because all I could do was, move my head left to right. I couldn't move my lower body. I couldn't pick my arms up. I couldn't talk. When I moved my head left to right, all I could, see was tubes hooked up to me. And I had a trach in my throat. I had a feeding tube in my nose. I had tubes, outside, on the side of my chest and stuff like that. And, I'm like, I know I'm in the hospital, but I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. And once I learned that I couldn't talk, and, I was in ICU for 2.5 months, and I couldn't talk that whole time because I had a trach in my throat. And I still don't know really what's going on because I'm in and out of it. I remember it was just a lot of pain. It was a lot of pain. And, can't talk. Nobody knew that, I was in so much pain that I was in. And he said I was in so much pain that I started biting down, like gritting my teeth. And I almost bit my tongue off because I don't know how it happened. But it was just so much, going through my head at one time and so much pain that I never, in my whole 18 years of living at that time, never went through anything like that. As time started going by, they took the trach out of my throat and I had to start learning how to breathe and talk on my own again. And once that happened, they moved me to a different floor at the hospital. So, I could talk. So I was like, okay, now, I'm getting a little better, so I really need y'all to tell me what's going on. I know I'm paralyzed from waist down because this whole time that I've been here, I haven't been having no sensation. So I mean, I know that. So I really need to know, why I'm here, or what's going on with me. My stepdad and my mom is the people who told me that was like, whenever when you dropped your date off from prom, you was involved in a head-on collision with a drunk driver. And I was like, okay. And there was like, that we received a phone call about 5 o'clock that morning. The lady on the phone asked her if she had a younger son, if she had a son named Daniel who went to prom. She was like, Daniel should answer the phone. I have a younger son named Danny. He went to prom. She was like, okay, well, we have him down here at the hospital. He wants you to come and be with him. She was like, okay, is anything wrong? Is he okay? Oh, no, he's fine. He just wants you to come and be with him. So they was out the door, and they made it to the hospital, probably about 5-10 minutes. We stayed around the corner from the hospital, so it didn't take them that long to get there. When they got there and checked in, they put him in a consultation room. And my stepdad worked at the hospital years back, and he told my mom, it's like, whatever's wrong with him, he's not all right, because they wouldn't have put us in this consultation room. So they told me that the doctors kept coming in and out telling them that if I survived the wreck, that I'd be mentally challenged, I'd be brain dead, that I need dialysis for the rest of my life. I'd be on all type of pain medications, that I wouldn't remember anything. And then they went to tell them all the injuries that I sustained. I shattered both of my ankles. I have metal in both ankles. I shattered both knees. I have metal in both knees. I broke both femurs. I have arm rods in both femurs. I broke 6 left ribs. I damaged my kidneys, my lungs, my liver. I snapped my spine in half. I have a ladder going up and down my spine with at least 20 screws. I tore my main vein to my heart, and I had a severe brain injury. And, they told me all of that, and I'm like, okay, I had all that wrong with me, and I made it. And I remember the first time that I seen the photos of my car, it was like somebody got a big bucket of acid and just poured it on the front of my car, and it just folded. They said that, she was driving on the wrong side of the highway. She didn't have no headlights on. And I never seen her coming. And she was driving in my lane. And I seen her because when we got real close on each other, so close that I hit my brakes, but it was too late because we was like on top of each other. We smacked. Her car kind of backed out in traffic. Mine spun out. So the car tailing behind me hit me, get on the driver's side, and spun me back around. So I was hit twice. And it was crazy because when I seen the pictures, it was like, he wasn't supposed to make it out that wreck. It took them about an hour and a half to cut me out the car and get me to the hospital. I mean, somebody was looking out for me. It was tough because even though I was up, I was still in and out of the operating room. They opened my back 2 more times while I was in Bowman Hospital, and they kept coming in and taking staples out, putting staples in, and a lot of times, I couldn't. They didn't give me anything before they did it. They didn't tell me that they was doing it before they did it. So it was just, and a couple of times it was when I had the trach in my throat and I couldn't yell, I couldn't talk, I couldn't do anything. About 8.5 years, and I had about 17, 18 surgeries. It's like I'll get one thing fixed and something else happen. I have to get a surgery done on that. So I just about been cut on just about every part of my body. You want to know, like, for what? Like, what's the reason that I have to go through all of this stuff? Why do I have to do this? So all the time, I was in there and out the hospital, still basically fighting for my life all this time. That was the time and the years that I was supposed to make my mistakes, and I was supposed to learn from them. I was supposed to, be a kid and, still do the stuff that I wanted to do, because there's a lot of stuff that I put on the back burner because, man, I'm 18 years old. I have all the time in the world to do what I want to do. My life still have not begun yet. I can do whatever I want to do. And then something like that happened, and that stops just about everything that you ever wanted to do. I mean, a lot of people can't adapt to a situation like this. A lot of people can't live this life. But just because I can doesn't make it right, for somebody to drink and drive and have me living my life the way I'm living it. I mean, I never thought in a million years that, this would be my life. And I mean, I remember when MAD came into Central and into my high school and they were speaking. And I remember sitting in the audience and listening to them speak and tell their story, and I was like, man, that's tough. I would never do that to somebody, and not a year later, somebody did it to me. I mean, because I had dreams, I had goals, I had stuff that I wanted to achieve. I mean, ever since, I'm in elementary to graduating high school. Since I was in the 3rd grade, I wanted to be a firefighter. I mean, that's what I wanted to do.
Some of the impacts that I've seen on him would be, I would say, certain things that we can't do, I'm sure that bothers him, as far as like any other particular person could go to Disney World or do a lot of things that we would do, if there wasn't any limitations to it.
So it's just a matter of seconds. Everything was snatched from me. Everything. And it just basically boils down to somebody's choice and decision to get behind a wheel of a vehicle and turn a key. And it's not right. Like I tell people whenever I speak, it's just, this is not my life. I mean, this is a life that she gave me, that I'm living. Because this is not my life that I dreamed of. This is not my life that I felt like I was gonna be living. I don't wish this on anybody. Depression kicked in, and I didn't like the way that I was living. I didn't like me being paralyzed in a wheelchair. I didn't like, how small I was. I didn't like how people was looking at me. I didn't like how people were stereotyping me. So I'm staying in the room. I'm staying at home, and it was, to the point that I had guilt because I felt like I was a burden on my family. I try to commit suicide numerous of times because of that. But once I remember, actually what my mom actually went through and how she was looking whenever I was in the hospital all that time, I was like, man, you selfish. I was just like, man, you selfish because you made it. Like you made it through the most hardest part was the wreck. You made it through that. But I was still to the point like, man, this ain't a life for nobody to live. So I'm not gonna live it. It took me about 2.5 years to accept myself for who I was gonna be. Still, it's still no excuse. It's still no reason to live a life like this over alcohol.
Day to day, living with Danny being paralyzed is very hard. This injury has a lot of effects on, not just him, but us. Some days, Danny could wake up and feel okay, in a very good mood. Some days, he may be sad or down or not just feeling, up to his best. This is what life is like if you make the bad decision and the wrong choice. This is what your life could be like, or even worse.
At every victim impact panel I speak at, I've been doing it about 6-7 years. I asked them, after hearing my story, how many people, by a show of hands, want to live my life? I say that after every speech. And I wait. Nobody ever raised their hand. And these are offenders. Nobody ever raised their hand. Like, you don't want to live my life, but you willing to deal it. I don't understand it. You willing to deal a life like this, or worse, of killing somebody. But after you heard everything that I've been talking about, you do not want to live my life. But they willing to deal it. It's selfish. Nobody care until something like this happens to them or their family. Other than that, they blind to it. They don't care because they haven't been affected. But until something happens to them, then they want to be about this or they want to be about that. But then it's too late.
It's like a lose-lose situation. Nobody wins in a situation that someone thinks about drinking and driving. No one wins in a situation like that.
In a split second, my whole world was turned upside down. In a split second. Everything that I worked hard for was gone. So it's not that, that whenever I drink, I'm invincible. That's a lot of people feel that way. But I'm just going up the street. I'm fine. I'm just going up the street. But when you go up the street, you don't know if you didn't ran a dog off the road, or if you didn't hit a couple of mailboxes, you didn't scan a couple of cars, who you ran off the road, who you might have hit on side the road, or anything. Most wrecks happen within a mile or two away from their destination. You almost made it. You almost made it, but you didn't. Now there's somebody else, family that's have to go through something because of, your choice and decision that you made. All I want to do is feel my toes, wiggle my toes. I haven't felt that on going on 11 years. And that's all I want to do. Stretch my legs, stand up for a second. But it's not happening. And it's not happening because somebody chose to drink and drive.